My name is Heather. I was 17 years old when I had my abortion. I had a surgical abortion. I did not feel informed. I have actually spoken about for some bills about informed consent because it was so easy. I just called. I think I just turned 17. I called and made the appointment. I only remember having a couple-minute phone call, and then I showed up and signed some forms and was taken back. I don't remember being given anything, and I really didn't think about it at that age, what it really meant to abortion. Well, when I was 17, my mom was a single parent, and so she worked two jobs, and so I kind of just ran around and got myself into a lot of trouble. And when I was 17, I was dating a boy who's in college, and and we got pregnant, and I remember telling my best friend, and we went to a pregnancy center to get confirmation, and they said that I was pregnant, and we met with the counselor, my best friend and I was just bawling, and I couldn't even speak, and my friend asked her what our options were, and she said, well, adoption and keeping the baby. And I started crying even more, and my friend's like, well, what about abortion? And she just had really, really sad eyes, and she showed us a model of a preborn baby, and I cried even harder, and my friend got up and yelled at her, and she said, how could you show that to her? And she grabbed my hand, and we ran out of there, and we went to her house and got a phone book and called the first number that said abortion and made the appointment. And then I went home that night. My mom was sleeping, and I just told her, I said, I'm pregnant, and I made an appointment for an abortion, and I said, if you don't take me, I'll find someone who will, and I went to bed. And after that, she didn't talk to me about it at all until the day of, and she never offered me any other alternatives. And my mom was really, since she was, she didn't have a lot of support, and she always tried to be my best friend. She didn't want to upset me, and I think she just thought that if she said anything that I would probably not listen to her anyway, and so she just did what I wanted to. And I told my boyfriend, and he gave me the $300 to pay for it, and he didn't say anything, try to talk me out of it or anything. And then on the day of, we had to borrow my grandmother's car because my mom's wouldn't make it all the way to Bellevue is where it was. And it's probably a little over an hour away from Bellwood. And so my cousin, Amanda, and I and my mom went. And my cousin was a year younger than me, and she's the only person the whole time that ever tried to talk me out of it. And she's just an amazing person, and I'll always thank her for that. And even to this day, she is so sad that she couldn't talk me out of it. And I don't know if I would have, I didn't listen to her, but she was so wise, and I respect her so much. But she went with me, and she had sad eyes just like the counselor that I first saw. And then we went to the facility, and like I said, I remember pulling up, and there were people shouting lots of things, people standing around the abortion facility. And so my mom and me and my cousin went in and signed some papers and sat in the lobby, and there were a lot of other girls there, and a lot of other girls that looked sad and scared. And then my name was called, and I went back to the room, and the doctor just said, well, it's about the size of a pinky nail, and he did the abortion. And after that, they gave me a little bag of meds and sent me on my way, and then that was it. And I really didn't think about it after that. I kind of blocked it out. And about 10 years later, when I started to think about it again, I thought, well, okay, let me back up. About 10 years later, I got pregnant with my husband and my second son. About this all happened in 1999, I believe, and then in 2001, I gave birth to my older son now. He's 13 now. And then in 2009, we got pregnant again with our second son. And during that pregnancy, I started to think about the first pregnancy a lot. And I got so depressed. And I would, start, I think part of it was that I wanted to rejoin the Catholic Church again. And I felt that it wasn't fair that I wasn't giving my older son Catholic education, and I felt like he needed to, go to CCD and learn about Jesus. But I wasn't really there. I wasn't going to church, and I hadn't gone to church since I was little, like maybe 9, 10. So, but I knew I had to go to confession and confess this, and I was nervous, and but we rejoined the church, and then I scheduled an appointment, and I don't know why I scheduled an appointment, because I'm actually pretty shy and I really don't want anybody to know about this. I didn't at the time. And I scheduled the appointment, so he knew who I was, and he was a younger priest in our parish. And after confession, he gave me a brochure to Rachel's Vineyard. And so I thought that I would look it up online, and I looked it up, and I contacted the Nebraska representative, and I told her that I wanted to help out in some way. I didn't think I needed to go on a retreat, because I'm like, I went to confession, I'm fine, I don't need anything else. And she invited me to go on a retreat, and but I said no. I was pregnant at the time, and we had our son in October. So for the next year, she asked me to go on a retreat, and I just thought, no, I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I would be at work, and I would just think about that baby, and I started listening to songs about abortion and reading books, and it's all I could think about, and I felt like a horrible person. And part of the reason was because I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't remember the events surrounding that. I felt like a cold person, and I felt that I just have no emotions. I couldn't connect to anyone. I couldn't connect to my husband. I couldn't connect to, Catholicism. I couldn't feel anything. And I think that's one thing that happens after an abortion, is you try to block out those memories, but you can't just block out one thing. You block out everything. So it's blocking out all feelings. And so I decided in 2011, in April, that I would go to a retreat. And even up to April, I thought, I don't need this. I'm not going to go, because I don't really want to be around people, and I don't want to do this. And my husband just kind of pushed me out the door, and he's like, just go. And I think he wanted me to get help, because he would just be talking about random things, and I would burst into tears because he would set me off in some way. And so I went, like, it was like a day and a half into the retreat, and I was feeling like I wasn't really connecting. I wasn't connecting to God. I wasn't connecting like I felt some other people were, and I felt like, why am I here? And then there was one spot in the retreat where we were in this chapel, and it's just this beautiful small chapel with huge windows, and it overlooks trees and just nature, and the sun was shining in at just the perfect moment. And I was sitting there feeling like, why am I here? And then one of the team members put a prayer shawl around my shoulders, and it's so hard to explain, but in that moment I felt completely forgiven. I felt like I connected to God, and I could feel, it's almost like I could feel like all the prayers that went into making that prayer shawl. And it was that moment that I was completely transformed, and I felt connected to God, and just forgiven, and I felt a connection to my child. And after that moment I was able to open up, and after you open up those feelings that have been stuffed away for so long, they just come out and out and out. And I was probably a mess the rest of it, just getting those tears out and actually grieving, which is, it's good to do. But I feel like God used that moment to open up my heart, so I could let my child back in. I could let those feelings back in, and I could finally start to love, my family more. I could start to, love my child and love God, and I left there feeling like a brand new person. I did. I named my daughter at my retreat, and I named her Amanda, and that was my cousin's name, though. The one who tried to talk me out of it, I named her Amanda. I didn't have any physical results of my abortion, which is very lucky, because a lot of people do, and that's something that the media doesn't like people to know, but a lot of people do have negative physical results. Emotional results for me was just a coldness, a blocking all feelings out, blocking emotions out, and an inability to connect with people, and an inability to love people the way we're meant to love, and just a negative view of myself, almost a hatred towards myself for what I've done. And I just didn't lead a very good life after that, and I wasn't going down a good road anyway, but it didn't help. And thankfully, when I did have my son, who's 13 now, I cleaned up my life. And he's a blessing to me, because he really helped me clean up my life, and my husband and I both started leading very good lives after that, and tried, but we were a mess still. I was an emotional mess, and it was hard for us to bond, and he didn't understand how to help me, and I didn't even understand what was going on, but I wasn't a very nice person, and that's because I didn't like myself. So I think the emotional for me was a lot worse than the physical. One relationship that was really hurt by this was the relationship with my mother. And I love my mother. She did everything she could to give me everything I wanted. As a single mother, she did the best job she could do. And hindsight is 2020. I'm sure she wishes she could change things. You can make a lot of mistakes as a parent, and you try to fix them. And I'm a parent of 2 small children myself, and I'm going to make mistakes, and they're going to blame me for things. But taking your child to get an abortion, or not talking them out of it, just going along with it, that's something that you just can't change. And I forgive her, because I know she did her best. But getting back to where we were, and we were best friends. Getting back to where we were has been really hard, and we're still not there yet. I think there's just a barrier between us, and when she comes over, I immediately get in a bad mood, and I know she regrets it. But sometimes I feel like she blames me, because she feels like I was out of control. And then I don't know. It ruined a really good relationship, and we're working to get it back, and we don't talk about it a lot. But yeah, You can't fix that. It's something that is forever. Once you decide to take the life of your child or help someone take the life of their child, that's the decision you can't take back. And there are repercussions for that. I think too, gosh, it's funny that I don't have the same reaction to my best friend because she's the one that, went with me and helped me make the phone call. And I think at times I have thought, well, you were just as much of a part of it too, but I feel I feel differently towards her because I think we were the same age, and I probably would have done the same thing if it would have been her. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done, but I just feel like it was probably harder for my mom and my relationship because she was older, and she probably, I felt like she had the responsibility to help me make a different choice, but I don't know if I would have listened to her or not. So you never know. But we're working on it, and she's an amazing, amazing woman, and being a single mom is hard, and she did a very good job. If I could say anything to myself before I walked into that appointment, I would just say I would encourage myself. I would say that you can do this. You can have a baby. You're young, and you may not be able to go out and party, but having this child will change your life and it will make it better. I think that a lot of times people have abortions because they think it's going to ruin their lives, but what if that's what their life is meant to do? What if they're meant to have this child? And there's so much joy that comes out of being a child. There's so much joy that comes from being a woman and be able to hold that child or bless another family with a child that they've been waiting for. There's so many people waiting for a child. It's not the end of the world. It's not. I mean, I would encourage myself. I had so many family members that would have helped me. I could have done it. My older son that I have now, I got pregnant with him when I was 18 years old, and I went to college. I raised him. I worked a full-time job. I I did it, and it was just fine. Everything was just fine. And I did it then. I could have done it a year earlier, and then I wouldn't have, taken the life of my child, and I wouldn't have had all these years of pain. So I would have encouraged myself. And a lot of people, they think that abortion is better because then the young person will have a chance. I did exactly what I would have done without a child. Like I said, went to school, worked. I'm here today and I'm just fine. I would have done the same thing if I would have had a child a year earlier. If I were speaking to another young woman who was contemplating abortion, I would I would encourage her and tell her that she can do this. That our culture tells us that we can't, and I don't know why it's so backwards. And that they can do whatever they want to do, yet they can't have a child and do whatever they want to do. That's so backwards, and people don't even realize it. I would tell her that she can do whatever she wants to do and have a child, or she can bless someone else with a child, and that may be a hard decision, but she will be happier knowing that she gave life to another human being and she gave them that chance, the same chance that she had. And I would just tell her that she's beautiful and life is beautiful. We shouldn't have limits on our abilities. We shouldn't say, well, you can do this, you can go to college and you can work and you can be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. But in order to do that, you have to choose between you and your child. That's completely anti-woman. Our ability to have children is beautiful, and I would tell her that I really do believe that everything happens for a reason, and God turns God turns tragedies into something beautiful, and she may feel like she has no other choice, or she may feel like it was a mistake or that it's a tragedy in her life, but God makes tragedies beautiful. And if she is pregnant, then God means that child to come into this world, and he has a plan for that child, and he has a plan for her, and if she trusts in him, then everything will be just fine. It's definitely something that I don't want anyone ever to have to go through, and I think a lot of people, they don't get it. They think it's all about women's rights, and it's not. It's not something that any woman should have to go through, and you don't know until you've been through it. And a lot of people have been through it and think they're fine, but I help on the Rachel's Vineyard retreats now, and some of the retreatants are grandmothers. Some of them are in their 60s, and it's taken them this long to realize that they regret it. Some of them do right away, but some of them don't, because you trick yourself. If you would have asked me 6, 7 years ago if I was pro-life or pro-choice, I would have said I was pro-choice by far, because women, they need a choice, and it's their body. And it wasn't until God opened my heart and let me remember the pain I had, and let me feel that, and let me seek forgiveness, until I realized that I was not okay, and it's not okay. And I don't know, it's really hard. It's hard now being pro-life, because I think, why can't you guys understand how bad it is? But I was there too.